Martinez, and I want to welcome you to my kitchen. Pasta, you say? Latino, you say? Well, yes. Our first is a classic dish called Fideua, a noodle paella from Spain. And I'm going to show you how to make my grandma's chicken with spicy chorizo tomato sauce.
Daisy Cooks is brought to you by
As Daisy says, eat great, feel great, look great. Marshall's. Brand names for less.
and by All-Clad Metal Crafters. All-Clad is bonded construction. All-Clad is innovative design. All-Clad is professional equipment. All-Clad is a state of mind. And by Brillo with Oxy Action. For tough messes, Oxy microbubbles lift and dissolve grease and grime. Brillo, cleaning solutions for your home for over 90 years.
Pasta Latina? There are two words you don't usually hear together every day, but today I'm going to show you two very traditional recipes, one from Spain, which turns out to be almost like a noodle paella, which is amazing, and that's called Fideua. And then we're going to take out of Valentina Martinez's kitchen, very close and dear to my heart, my grandmother's Macarrones con Pollo, pasta with a spicy tomato sauce with chicken in it. Let's get started. My mouth is watering just thinking about this stuff. Okay. My friends, the achote seeds. Can't live without them, and it imparts a beautiful, gorgeous, golden marigold color to your food and a little nutty flavor that you really can't peg, but it is delicious. So about a teaspoon and a little bit more of achote seeds, and we're going to make some olive oil with that. And I'm going to start this off with medium-high heat. And achote oil is something that you can't put on the stove and walk away from. You really have to watch it very closely because the danger that you run is that the olive oil will overheat. The achote seeds turn black, and you have to throw this in the trash. It's bitter and ugly and just nasty. In the meantime, I've got some clam broth here that I'm going to put to heat. And this clam broth is going to serve as the matrix for us to cook our Fideua in. So we'll let the clam juice come up to a simmer, okay? And you can hear the achote seeds are happy and they're talking to each other. And you can see the color that's happening. And it'll talk to you. Whoops. Okay. I am going to strain my achote oil into my paella pan. If you have like a wide bottom skillet that you have a lid for, that works amazingly well as well. And to this I'm going to add a bag of little egg noodle nests, that you can find in an Italian market. If you can't find those, I know you can find a box of angel hair in the supermarket, very thin pasta, or even spaghetti, if all of that is a problem. The traditional pasta that's used for a Fideua is fideos. But you guys have got to try these dishes, so I'm giving you every possible alternative. There's no excuse why you shouldn't do this. And we're going to break these up. I want the pasta to cook evenly. All right, just a quick. Okay, now here's something that you don't see every day. I'm going to fry my fideos right into this beautiful oil. Look at that color. Can you believe that? What you want to do is you want to stir so that all of the noodles have this gorgeous, it looks to me like a sunset, okay? I got a little sizzle going on, and I'm going to walk over to the fridge. Let's get some of that fish. They'll be making their debut very soon. I have some shrimp here that I started to peel already, but I'm just going to take the shell off, just leave the little tail on, and I'm going to just pick that right off. I can smell it, but like we say in my house, me huele pero no me sabe. I can smell it, but I can't taste it yet. But it won't be long now. Okay, and you see the pasta is actually starting to get toasted, just starting to brown just a little bit. Look at that, is that fabulous? Okay, I'm gonna move this over to the side, and I'm gonna add my shrimp. These are a very special gift from heaven. These are diver scallops, dry scallops. And to me, they're just amazing. They're sweet, and the texture is silken on your tongue. They're just absolutely delicious. And we're just gonna make sure that these get color. And then I'm going to start mixing the seafood in with the pasta. And you see the shrimp are starting, just starting to turn a little opaque. When that happens, we're going to start to add some of this broth. And so we're going to add enough broth for it to come up about halfway up the side of the pasta. Okay, it's bubbling around the edges. I'm just going to nestle some of these beautiful, beautiful cultivated mussels into the Fideua. I wish that you guys could smell this because it is absolutely amazing. I'm going to salt this a little bit. Okay, and we're watching the fluid level. We still have plenty of broth. Okay, so we have this nice furious bubble now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this, and I'm just going to give that 2 minutes to come up to steam to help the mussels along. Okay, so let's take a peek. Yep, the mussels are certainly responding. Wow. Oh my goodness, it smells like heaven in here. Okay, now I have a very, very happy Fideua on my hands. And I've got some plum tomatoes here. Let's add the tomato and some blanched green peas. Look how pretty this looks. You know what? Frozen peas to me are just amazing. Today you get the individually flash frozen and they don't sacrifice flavor or anything at all. And you realize that I'm doing this at a high heat because I want that fluid, I want the matrix to evaporate. Some fresh ground pepper. Try to work from the corners into the center and from the bottom up so that you make sure that all the noodles are cooked at the same time. Another minute. And a teeny bit more salt. When you're working with shellfish, it's always a good idea to save the last hit of salt to the very, very end because shellfish like mussels and clams and things like that lose their liquor when they open up. And where do they live? Well, they live in salt water. So it stands to reason that they are going to add a little bit of salt to the dish as well. I have some sweet red bell peppers that I roasted on the stove. My grandmother was a great one for this. She would take the peppers and put them right on the stove, and then she would wrap them in paper towels. You know, she'd dampen the paper towels, and then she'd wrap the pepper in the paper towel and just rub the skin right off. Okay? I'm just going to finish this off on top. Oh my goodness. Guys, I'm so excited about this. I have to get this on a plate. My mouth is watering and you know, you guys have got to try this. When I make this at home for my family, there is absolutely nothing left. As a matter of fact, whoever is around to help me serve dinner is always like scraping at the bottom of the pan with a spoon to get every last bit. Now, I dare you to tell me that is not the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And you guys were worried about pasta latina? Honey, I have Spain served up on a plate during a sunset for you. It doesn't get better than that. You guys, if you don't try this, you are totally missing out. Come on, pull up a chair and join me. Y buen provecho. Abuela's macarrones con pollo. Pasta with chicken and chorizo in a spicy tomato sauce a la my grandma, Valentina. My grandmother came up with this dish for my grandfather, who she said used to have a little bit of Italian back there down the road a little bit. And this is her version of Italian food. So let's get in the kitchen and fry up some chicken. We have a chicken I have it cut up in about 8 to 10 pieces. You don't need a whole chicken. If you'd rather not do that, you can do just legs and thighs. A little salt and pepper. And I have a nice wide pan here that I'm going to drizzle with a little oil, and we're going to give it medium-high heat. What I'm using here is olive oil because I'm not going to be hitting this with high heat. Olive oil has a very low smoke point, so I don't like to deep fry stuff in it. So you can tell that the pan is getting hot because the oil is spreading out of the middle of the pan. You see that it runs around to the edges. And I think that, well, we'll know in a sec. There we go. You put the chicken skin side down. So a nice medium flame is going to love that quite nicely. Okay? Well, that's happening. Over here I have some chorizo, which to me brings back more abuela memories. She loved to cook. So Sundays, I remember coming home from church and she'd have just such a beautiful table set up. I'm cutting this in half and then again on the bias. And my cousins lived around the corner and everybody would get home from church at the same time. And I just remember as a little girl, so much food, and my father and my uncle kidding around, and the kids running around, and who's stealing a piece of bacon or a piece of chorizo. And she would have mounds of sweet plantains that are sauteed until soft. If I could think of a memory that makes me feel safe and happy, that would be it. Okay, so our chorizo is set. You'll hear me talk over and over about alcaparrado. And alcaparrado comes ready-made. You can get it in your grocer in a bottle pretty much like this. If you happen not to have alcaparrado in your refrigerator, can you say alcaparrado? Practice in front of the mirror. If you don't have alcaparrado in your refrigerator, I'm sure you have a jar of olives, pimento stuffed olives, and everybody keeps a little jar of capers in their refrigerator. And so pretty much we can make an alcaparrado. So no excuses, you guys. Okay, and we're just gonna smash these up a little bit. And then just chop them up. Coarsely, it doesn't have to be real fine or anything like that. This is really going to add a little brininess to your sauce that is not something that you get, although sometimes you add capers to the Italian puttanesca sauce, so you get a little hint of it like that. Okay, you guys know how I feel about ajicitos, but if you don't, I'm going to tell you now. You're looking at them saying, oh my goodness, that's a Scotch bonnet, that's an habanero. No, it certainly is not. If it was, I couldn't do that. And I like heat, but I couldn't do that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the tops off, a handful of them, and chop them, you know, coarsely. If you can't find ajicitos, there's a lot of places online that you can order them from, and they usually ship stuff like overnight. But in the event that you can't get them, add a little extra cilantro for the punch that you would give with the ajicitos. Okay. And then I have, you know what? What I have is to check this chicken. Oh, it's coming along nicely. Beautiful. A couple of minutes more. And I have a little bunch of cilantro here. My mother has an incredibly green thumb. And we would go down and get the bunches of cilantro, and a lot of the times they'd have the root ends still attached. She would put them in water, and after a couple of days, she set them in the ground. And before she knew it, she was growing not only her own cilantro, but her own culantro. She had her own ajicitos. I mean, we had a real Latin market happening in our backyard. Okay, and you saw me chop up the stems. I don't want you to hate me, I'm telling you. I went to throw out the stems one day. My mother thought I had lost my mind. Said, what are you doing? I said, well, Ma, you know, they taught us when I went to culinary school that you don't add the stems. She goes, I don't care what they say. When you're cooking Latino food, you add those stems because they have flavor and they have punch, and they're really tender. So it's not like, there's nothing woody or strange in the cilantro. It's all good. So, are you watching, Ma? I got cilantro stems in my sauce here. Okay, I think it's time to turn the chicken. Look at that. Beautiful. And that's just the color that we want, a pretty gold crust on the chicken. Okay, this is going to take another maybe 5 to 7 minutes at the same heat, and then we'll be able to continue. Okay, so look at how beautifully the chicken has browned on both sides. We've got some fabulous color. And now to this, I'm going to add my chorizo. And if you were here with me right now, when I add this chorizo to the pan, it's like, ladies and gentlemen, Elvis is in the house. Because that's the excitement that chorizo causes when it hits heat. And what I'm doing now is I'm rendering the chorizo a little bit. So I'm pulling some of the flavor out. We use paprika to make chorizo that nice red color, and it's going to color the oil and hence the chicken. You can make this dish fairly quickly. It's not really complicated, but you don't want to burn your chorizo, and you really want the chicken to absorb all of the flavors that are going on. Now, I'm going to remove the chicken, set it aside for just a second, because we're going to start building our sauce. And you can see already we have a couple of layers on this. We have the oil where we brown the chicken, and then we have the chorizo releasing its fragrance and its color onto the oil. I'm going to add my sofrito, which is the defining cornerstone, I believe, of Latin American cooking. It manifests one way or another in every single Latin American country. Sofrito is an aromatic puree of onions, garlic, tomatoes, sweet red bell peppers, green peppers, ajicitos dulces if you can find them, cilantro, and culantro. Or if you can't find culantro, you could use more cilantro. And look how beautiful that is. Is that not gorgeous? We're going to go ahead and add our ajicitos and our alcaparrado. It's smelling a lot like heaven right about now. Okay, and about a teaspoon of cumin. Now, just for a second, I'm going to crank the heat up a little bit because I really want it to be hot. So what I'm going to do, about a half a cup or so of white wine. Whew. And now we have cumin and wine and chorizo and sofrito working. This is like a circus. Are you kidding? This is amazing. And then we're going to add some of these tomatoes. So a 28-ounce can of either whole plum tomatoes, or you can get the crushed tomatoes in the can. Or if you're really feeling adventurous and you feel like making your own tomato sauce, that works too. That's not a luxury that I get to do very often. And I know I never had the time to do something like that. So canned tomatoes were just fine. I'm just going to tuck in 2 bay leaves in there. And if you guys are lucky enough to find fresh bay leaf, this is something you want to do. And we're just going to tuck these chicken pieces back in, and I'm going to adjust the heat in just a second. Okay, and my fresh cilantro, and a little bit, and some fresh ground pepper. And I'm going to lower the heat to low, and I'm going to cover it, and we'll be back to see this in about 30 minutes. I am so lucky that I've been able to live long enough to walk into a supermarket and buy a box of pasta that says Macarrones on it. My grandmother would have been beside herself to have seen that. But I've got a pot of salted water over here. We're going to add the box of macarrones to our pot and give it a little stir so it doesn't stick. And while that's going on, I'm going to make a little bit of pan de ajo, which is nothing more complicated than garlic bread. Handful of garlic. I would say about 8 to 10 cloves. I like garlic, don't forget that. And I'm going to give this a whir, first to break down the garlic. And I'm going to add some butter to that. And then a little olive oil. A little salt. And a little pepper. And I have a loaf of Italian bread here. I'm going to just spread it on. When you see me use butter, I will always use unsalted butter. Unsalted butter is actually fresher than salted butter because the salt is used as a preservative and it'll keep the butter a little bit longer. And my feeling is that I want the real butter flavor to come through. If I feel like adding salt, I just did, didn't I? There we go, we have enough. So let's take that over to my oven. Usually I run it under the broiler for maybe 2 minutes till I get this butter and garlic nice and bubbly, and then I put it in the oven for about 10-15 minutes at 350. There we go. And that'll be a little bit, and let me just check on my macarrones. Make sure they're not sticking to the bottom of the pan. Okay, and that's coming along nicely. And I want to take a peek at my pollo. Oh my goodness. That is beautiful. The chicken is falling off the bone at this point, which is the way that I love chicken. Okay. And this should be at a low simmer at this point. I think that our macarrones are just about ready. We're going to check. Perfect. Let's turn this off. My trusty pot holders here. And we're going to drain this. And just give these a little shake. We're going to pour them right in there. And now the chicken is going to make its debut. Beautiful. Oh, I wish you guys could smell this. Okay, well, I'm going to put the chicken on this platter. Okay. And the chicken is really just falling apart delicious. For that reason, it's also nice to use dark meat, because you want to cook it to that point, and sometimes white meat gets a little dry. Okay, I'm going to mix this sauce just so that it's all, works together. I wish you guys could smell this, because it really, there's nothing that you can compare this to. Absolutely beautiful. And then we're going to spoon some of this sauce over and around the chicken. And if memory serves me correctly, my garlic bread should be just about ready. Let's see. Ah, perfect. Looks delicious. Set this right over here. Let's take a piece of this and cut some off. Okay, let's eat. I'm going to make a plate for myself, some macarrones. And look how delicious this is. You have red peppers from the olives, you have chorizo. I'm going to take just a little bit of extra sauce. This is like amazing. And I want some chicken. And some garlic bread. I have my wine, I have my fork, I'm all set. Excuse me. This is so delicious. You'll never have a problem using the word pasta and Latina together. Macarrones con pollo. Macaroni or pasta with chicken. To abuelitas everywhere. And especially mine. Buen provecho.
Daisy Cooks, Latin flavors that will rock your world, is the full-color hardcover companion cookbook to this series. To order, call 800-336-1917. Daisy's top 10 basics and over 200 of her detailed recipes are included in this 320-page book. The price is $29.95. You can order your copy of Daisy Cooks by calling the toll-free number or order online at her website, daisycooks.com.
Hola, it's Daisy. Hey, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me at daisycooks.com. Tell me what you think. Sign up for my newsletter and get recipes and tips in English and Spanish. It's all at daisycooks.com.
Daisy Cooks is brought to you by
As Daisy says, eat great, feel great, look great. Marshalls. Brand names for less.
and by All-Clad Metal Crafters. All-Clad is bonded construction. All-Clad is innovative design. All-Clad is professional equipment. All-Clad is a state of mind. And by Brillo with Oxy Action. For tough messes, Oxy Micro Bubbles lift and dissolve grease and grime. Brillo, cleaning solutions for your home for over 90 years.